permits if there's a vote or a presentation that we have to do. But as in years past, we've always run up to the House bill drop deadline, which was yesterday at 5 p.m. So we'll go ahead and get started. As usual, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So Andrew, when you're ready. All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a busy agenda today, and one modification to the agenda is that DLS has a very brief state aid presentation that they are required to do at each delegation around the state. So if those individuals are here and they can go ahead and get started, you guys are up first.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Arnold Aja. I'm here with Valerie Monroe and Hiram Birch, our Legislative Manager. We will be giving a highlight on the state aid to Frederick County. We provided you with resources to access all of our state aid resources, and we are also happy to meet with you should you have any questions. I will now be sharing my screen. Page 1 shows you that the state aid to local governments is a large portion of the total state budget. It is around 1/3 of total general funds and 1/4 of total state funds. Frederick County will receive $476 million in state aid in fiscal 2025. $427.2 million is direct aid, and $48.9 million is for retirement payments. Total state aid increases by 6.6% over the prior year. We will now go over the county municipal aid, which will total $16.6 million. Page 13 shows you the existing police aid formula and the factors affecting this funding. Frederick County will receive $2.7 million in police aid funding in fiscal 2025. Page 14 shows you the police aid enhancement funding, which will total $1.3 million. This funding is based on the total number of violent crime offenses occurring within the county. Now, the county will receive over $600,000 in fire and rescue aid in fiscal 2025, and this funding is based on each county's share of property tax accounts relative to the statewide total. Frederick County will receive $5.5 million in local health grants, and this year the county will receive a higher increase in funding than the statewide average. Page 23 shows you the highway user revenues, and the county and municipal share is based on vehicle registration and road mileage. The county will receive $4.9 million, and the municipalities will receive $6.9 million. Page 20 details the funding history and the distribution through the next fiscal years, and as you can see on the table. However, the Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act would revert funding back to fiscal 24 levels beginning in fiscal 2026. Now, finally, the county will also receive $2 million in library aid and $21.4 million in state support for the Frederick Community College. The BRFA also includes provisions that rebase the CAID funding formula. Now, Valerie will present on the education aid.
Thank you, Arnold. On page 31, you would observe that the vast majority of state funding is targeted to the public school system. Direct state aid to Frederick County Public School System accounts for approximately 80% of total state aid provided to the county, and funding for teacher retirement accounts for around 10% of total state aid. In fiscal 25, the Frederick County Public School System will receive $381.7 million in direct aid and $45.3 million in funding for teacher retirement payments. On page 31, on a per pupil basis, Frederick County will receive $9,277 in state funding. On page 32, you would observe that Frederick County will receive a 1.8% increase in per pupil direct aid in fiscal 25, which is below the statewide average increase of 3.2%. On page 35, this is going to be my final point, on blueprint and targeted funding, Frederick County will receive $13.8 million in state funding under the blueprint initiatives in fiscal 25. This includes $1.4 million for supplemental instruction, $4 million in concentration of poverty grants, $6.9 million for full-day pre-kindergarten, and $1.2 million for college and career programs. A considerable amount of state funding is based on targeted student populations, with Frederick County receiving $104.8 million in targeted grants under the compensatory aid, English language learners, and special education programs. Of these programs, Frederick County receives $59 million in compensatory aid, $27.6 million in special education funding, and $18.2 million in English language learners grant. I want to thank you again for your time, and if you have any questions, we will be free to answer. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the delegation? I know that's a lot to digest. Delegate Valentine, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is on the police aid formula. And this is specific to two of my municipalities because I did have an inquiry this year about their funding. So for the formula part that deals with violent crime offenses, so that formula takes in the statistics for the entire county, not a specific municipality. I just want to confirm that.
That is correct. It's based on the violent crime offenses for the entire county as reported by the state police.
Thank you.
All right, any other, Senator Lewis Young, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to go back to the education funding. And I can't remember the exact title of the line item because the slides were moving very quickly. But there was something that had a measurement that had Frederick County below the state average. I think it was in per pupil funding. But yet we have by far the fastest growing enrollment in the state. In fact, our growth is 3 times as much as the next closest county's pupil growth. So I'm curious about the disconnect between our average student funding and the fact that we're growing our student population much quicker than any other county.
Right. I can explain that. Arnold, if you turn to page 33, there's basically 2 primary components that drives the funding for public school. One is your student enrollment and also your student enrollment growth, and also it's your local wealth amount. And as you can see on page 33, you're right. Frederick County is ranked number 2 in the state, right behind Baltimore City in student enrollment growth. So that is 1.8% increase compared to the statewide average of 0.1%. So your school system is growing faster than almost every school system in the state. However, if you see in the second column, your local wealth per pupil is also growing faster than the state average. The local wealth per pupil increased by 5.6% this year. This was the 5th highest in the state compared to the statewide average of 3%. So that is the primary reason why your direct aid per pupil did not increase above the state average, is because your local wealth, and predominantly around 85% of state education aid is based on local wealth, that has an impact. Arnold, if we can turn it to page 39, it does show that on page 39, Frederick County is around in the middle when you're ranking state aid on a per wealth on a per pupil basis. It is your wealth is currently slightly below the statewide average, but it is growing much faster than the statewide average. So that does have an impact on your overall state funding.
Thank you.
Okay. What we can do also is we'll make sure the delegation members have some good email contacts for DLS, the individuals on this call. That way, if there's some additional questions we have, we can send those to you and then spread the answers to the rest of the members. So if everyone is okay with that, we can move on. We want to thank DLS for coming out this morning and presenting the numbers, and we'll reach back out if we have more questions.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get into the business of today's meeting. The first item on the agenda is the Frederick County Consolidated Transportation Priorities. Everyone should have received an updated priority list on Thursday, and there's really two changes, substantive changes on that. One is that we replaced the number one priority, I should say, we reintroduced the number one priority as US 15 from 70 to 26. The reason it wasn't there before was because it was fully funded. Well, now it's not fully funded, so we've once again placed it at the top of our list. And then we added some stronger language for the Libertytown sidewalks that we've all heard about for the last several years. So are there any questions or concerns about the transportation list? And if not, can we get a motion on that request?
Move favorable on the letter, Mr. Chair. It's Delegate Fair.
Delegate Fair, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second Delegate Miller.
Delegate Miller seconds. All right, any further discussion on the letter? All right, we'll go ahead and vote via acclamation. All those and just so I'm clear, I don't know if folks are raising their hands or speaking up. I'll reiterate if you are opposed to it, we'll get some clarity on that. But all those in favor of the approval of the letter signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Are there any opposed? And if you are opposed, if you could please speak up. All right. Good job. We'll get that signed into the county executive's office today. So thank you there. The next item on the agenda is there's some statewide legislation dealing with corrugated stainless steel tubing for fuel gas piping. As some of you may recall, there was a very tragic situation in Frederick County where a firefighter lost his life related to this issue. There's a statewide bill, HB 503 and SB 586, that would require anyone using corrugated stainless steel to comply with international standards. And we have a draft letter of support that you've all seen. So is there any discussion or questions about that letter of support? Because it's a statewide bill, obviously it's not a delegation bill, but we obviously can offer our support or not. So any discussion on that from any members or clarification needed? Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any questions, so we'll go ahead and entertain a motion on this letter of support.
I move
So
for
moved.
support.
All right. So we got,
Second.
all right, I'd say we got Senator Folden as a motion to approve, and we got Delegate Kerr as a second to approve. Any discussion? All right. Same deal. Vote via acclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Hearing none. So Victoria Venable, if you're on the call, we'll go ahead and get that letter to you today. Thank you for your advocacy on that issue.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is, I'm sorry, Senator Karen Lewis Young, go ahead.
I did support this because I'm going to vote for this bill, assuming it comes to the floor, and it relates to a local tragedy. But I just want to voice my concern about setting a precedent for delegation approvals of statewide bills. This is an exception. That's why I voted for it, but I just want to share that word of caution.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that generally the delegation does not weigh in on statewide bills because there's a statewide process and there's a local process. And so I agree with that. I think, as you just said, the only reason we're doing it is because it's a very local issue and
Right.
it's almost a, you know, just a local support. But yeah, I agree
Local
with that.
hero, correct.
Yep, exactly. Okay. So moving into the local and delegation bills, you know, as discussed previously, anytime there's a bill that generally implicates just the county or something within the county, we take it up as a local issue, whether it's in the delegation's name or in a member's name. So we have a couple of those today. The first one is LR 2989. It's an alcoholic beverages. It deals with breweries and distilleries. And I'm just going to give you the quick summary of what this is. So currently in Maryland state law, if you get a brewery license that has a tap room or a distillery license that has a tap room, which Frederick County has the most of. So in the state, we have the most breweries and distilleries. The law is silent as to whether that brewery or distillery can offer like water or like a Sprite or like a Coca-Cola or like a bag of chips. And as I understand it, we have several locations in Frederick County that over the years have offered these items. So if you go into like, you know, McClintock's downtown Frederick, they may have like a bag of chips. If you bring your kids in there, your kids can munch on some chips or some water or something like that. Well, lately, the ATC has come out and said that they are prohibited from offering these items because they are not manufactured on site. So what this bill does, and it's a local bill, it would enable local breweries and distilleries to be able to offer a non-alcoholic beverage and food, which would be, I guess, could be interpreted as like a bag of chips. So it's something that most of these places are doing already, but that is the gist of the bill. So are there any questions or concerns about that? Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
Just a quick processing question. The liquor board came to a hearing for us, a pre-hearing, and then also to the county hearing. They did not present this as a bill that they had requested at the time? Did this all occur in the last few months?
So they did request this, but it was, you know, I'll just say it, it was confusing to me as to what they were getting at. It wasn't overtly clear why they were requesting this. I kind of had to dig deeper to figure out the real issue. It was presented as they wanted to move the statewide license into a local license. So in the liquor law, in the code, you have the ability to apply for a DBR or a DDS, so a brewery with a tap room, distillery with a tap room, and it sits in the statewide section. They wanted to move it to the Frederick County section, and I was confused as to why. But now I know it's because they want local breweries and distilleries to have that option of offering food and non-alcoholic beverage. And so that part became more clear to me later. But they did put this in their legislative request at the beginning. It just wasn't super clear to me, at least. So
gotcha. Thank you for the clarity. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I did talk to some, you know, folks that are stakeholders on the issue, the retailers, and I talked to the distributors. I think most people don't care if it's a local bill. There may be some pushback because there seems to be a trend with breweries and distilleries that they're asking for more and more and more. But I think from a delegation perspective, you know, it's like if they're offering chips, who cares? You know, I mean, they're not offering other types of alcohol. It's like a bag of chips. And like, I don't know who would disagree that if somebody's having a few drinks, why they shouldn't be allowed to have a little bit of food with that for safety reasons. So, but I mean, if you guys are comfortable, you know, we can vote on this today if you need more time to marinate on it, but that's really it. So I can entertain a motion if there is one.
So moved.
All right. So Senator Fulton, that's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Senator Lewis Young, second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the SB 611. This deals with bow hunting and open carry. Senator Fulton, do you want to introduce that legislation to the delegation?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So SB 611, we were approached by some hunters from Western Maryland that had concerns about their own safety during deer management or the like while they're hunting with just bows. And when they get out into some of these more rural areas of our state, that there are other wildlife there, and they want to be able to carry openly in those areas for their own safety against other animals that might otherwise like to harm them while they are tracking or securing the animal that they have, the deer that they've taken down with a bow. So it's just for their personal protection. It's not an open carry all throughout the state. It just makes it to where DNR cannot prohibit them from carrying that for their own protection. And that's the short of it.
So in further context too, for the, sorry, Senator, I just want to put this out there and then we can take some questions. So currently it is permitted. So it is something that is permitted already. What this would do is this would expand it to other areas in Frederick County or Washington County. But it's not a new, the entire concept is not new. It just modifies it a tad. But go ahead, Senator Lewis Young.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is, how many incidences have there been of a hunter feeling unsafe or threatened by another animal that was actually charging them or coming too close to them while bow hunting? That's question one. And the second question is if this is a local bill, why is it co-sponsored by 3 senators that are not in our delegation?
Senator Fulton.
Well, I believe initially it was because it needs still statewide approval. They wanted to support that, but it is a local Washington and Frederick County bill only. And even others are allowed to sign on in support of a local bill across state, even if it is a delegation matter. They're still allowed to sign on at the time if it came in front of their committee, if they so chose. And then obviously we don't have DNR out at every situation across the state where there is this type of encounter. We can say that they are happening, that they have happened, but we're not having a documented session or journal of these instances where someone was in fear of helping.
Can you give me one example?
I don't have any documented reasoning.
Okay,
or
thank you.
I don't have any documented cases. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you. So I'm not a huge hunter, but my dad's a big deer hunter, and we have some property. So bears climb trees, and I know not everyone is a hunter, and you know the concept, but the reality is when you're deer hunting, in most cases, you're strapped in a tree, 20 to 30 feet off the ground, and bears climb trees. And if you Google bear encounters, deer hunter bear encounters, and watch YouTube today, you'd be shocked at how terrifying that situation is. And I would imagine it probably occurs in every state, but if you have a rifle, I mean, it's a terrifying situation. And so I think that's probably what this is in relation to. And I think the co-sponsors are all hunters. That's probably why they signed on to it. But Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
Just a quick question. Did DNR weigh in on this bill? Do they have any testimony or support or opposed to it?
like the chairman said, the bill already is in similar areas. This would just broaden it across all of Frederick and Washington County. There's already a like bill that approves this type of action for hunters.
Yeah, so I guess, can you help me understand what I heard him say that, and I meant to, that was my first question initially that I wasn't going to ask. What does that mean, that it already exists in certain areas of the state, or certain
You want
areas
me
of
to-
Frederick County?
You want
Yeah.
me to do it, Centerfold?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, and the only reason is I just read through it, so I'm like, familiar. But if you go to page 2 of the bill, and everyone may not have it up. Do you have it, Andrew? Can you put the bill up, page 2?
Yeah, give me a second.
So currently under law, it permits an individual who's at least 21 years old, who's hunting deer, to open carry a handgun in what's considered Management Region A, defined by the department's guide. So there's a hunting area, Region A, that you'd be permitted to do this currently. So in law, as you can see on page 2, you're permitted to, if you're 21 years old and you're deer hunting and you're in what is classified as Region A, you're permitted to do this. What this bill would do is it would add it to other parts of Frederick and Washington County that you're legally allowed to deer hunt. So it's not like in the city of Frederick. This doesn't permit them to open carry on Carroll's Creek. This is just while deer hunting in a legal area, that is as defined by the Department of Natural Resources. Because as you know, North County, Frederick, there's some other areas where you can deer hunt. Delegate Fair, does that answer your question? Sorry, I don't know if he's still there, but Delegate Valentine, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question is, where is Region A? Is it in proximity of the state? So where is it allowed now?
Good question.
So I just Googled that. That's actually was going to be my follow-up. If I'm reading this correctly, Region A is Allegheny, Garrett, and the western portion of Washington County. So Region A does not extend to all of Washington County or Frederick County.
Excellent. Good work.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yep.
and the only other question I have is, does this include public and private land?
Good question. Delegate Fair, did you Google that?
I did not, sir.
Hey, I like the teamwork here. We've all got computers and fingers, so we can figure this out. All right, we'll come back on that one, Delegate Valentine. Delegate Boucher, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is going to help address the fact there's a lot more personal carry permits out there, and there's a lot more law enforcement officers carrying their sidearms, and they happen to be hunters. And this would prevent those individuals from inadvertently violating the law. If they carry an arm on them, they're used to it. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to carry it out into the wildlife areas for their own personal protection if something does happen. After all, they are trained. And I think the extension of this has to do with the fact that we're seeing a larger bear population spread further east from those counties that are originally designated. So I think this would fall in line with what the objective is they're trying to accomplish. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Good points there. Senator Lewis Young, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of questions outstanding on this bill. I know I'd like to speak with DNR, so I'd like to recommend that we postpone further discussion till our next meeting.
So, okay, so we don't technically have a next meeting as of yet. I was hoping to not have a next meeting, but is that a motion?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Going once?
For the sake of discussion, I'll second the motion.
Okay, so back to discussion. So in your search of the Management Region A, did it delineate whether that was public or private?
reading exactly as it says, and again, I kind of appreciate the senator's comment here because I know nothing about this at all. Deer Management Region Zone A, Region A, Allegheny, Garrett, and western portion of Washington County, Zone 2 private land code, areas 250 and 251. So it sounds like it's a mixture of private and public land.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds like it. I mean, look, this is where I'm at for sake of discussion. So not everyone likes hunting in general or guns in general, but currently, you know, this carrying is permitted in all of the western counties in certain areas. What this would do is it would extend it to I guess Frederick County. And we talked about the merits of why that's necessary. Obviously, there has been some pretty significant changes to our gun laws in Maryland, you know, about carrying and things like that. You know, I would, given the time constraints we have as a delegation, I think people are either going to be for this or against this, you know, just based on their backgrounds. But you know, if we could vote on this today, it would be. I mean, we got a motion on the floor, so we're going to vote on that first, and then we're going to keep rolling. So
Mr.
I
Chair,
guess
I'd like to make one last comment.
Yeah.
So just for the sake of discussion, I do want to point out that you know, the senator was asking for documented incidences of hunting. What I'm going to tell you is it's not only just the documented incidents of hunting. There are documented incidents of bear attacks in Frederick County. You know, we had the lady up on Gambril's State Park that was mauled in 2016 in her own driveway, as well as, and she was bitten on the face, head, and arms, legs, and as well as in 2020, as recently, there was a woman in Myersville who was walking her dog that incurred significant injuries during a bear encounter. Now, it's not just exclusive to bears, obviously, because most people don't understand or realize that Frederick and Washington County and areas west have a significant coyote population. So it's the concern about when they're removing the animal, taking them back to be harvested, that they will be approached because the animals will pick up on the scent and encounter these and be able to properly and safely defend themselves. So with that, I would be opposed to her motion to hold this because this is justified. It's for public and private land, and move forward with the measure as written.
Okay. All right. So let's do the, all right, Delegate Miller for the last, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, one, echo Senator Folden's comments, and then add to it that anytime you're hunting on private land, you're going to have permission. So, and then public it's posted and things as well. So I'm totally comfortable moving forward.
Well, and the other thing too is you have to have a license to hunt. I mean, that's a crime to hunt without a license. So, you know, there's a lot of other things that are involved in this, but there is a motion, there is a second. The motion on the floor is to table this. That's been seconded. We did bring up this may be our last meeting, so we're going to do a roll call just so we're clear on, and I don't mess this up. So let's go through it. Senator Folden, go ahead, sir, on the motion.
No.
Okay.
And to be clear, a motion of no means to not hold the bill.
Okay. Delegate Boucher.
No.
Delegate Siliberti.
No.
Senator Quarterman.
No.
Delegate Fair.
Yes.
Delegate Kerr.
No.
Senator Lewis Young.
Yes.
Delegate Miller.
No.
Senator Reedy. Oh, absent. Okay. Delegate Rose. I think Rose is here. All right, we'll come back to her. Delegate Simpson.
So to be clear, I did have a bear come to my front door, just FYI, this year to be exact. But I'm not going to vote for it. I'm going to let it go through committee. If it comes out on the floor, fantastic, but I'm not going to hold it up. So I'm going to vote no to this because I think it's going to go to the right committee and the right decision will be made.
Okay. Delegate Tomlinson.
No.
All right. Delegate Valentine.
No, and Mr. Chair, one additional comment. In my part of the county, coyotes and bears are very, very prevalent, and I'm a no.
Delegate Wyville.
No.
All right, and the chair votes no. Okay, so we're at a point now where we can entertain another motion on this bill. And so if somebody wants to make one of those.
Move approval.
Okay. Delegate Miller, is there a second?
Second.
All right,
Wyville.
well, okay. All right, let's do this. And so we don't have to go through all that again, and we can just all record the no's more clearly. So all those in favor, so there's a motion to approve, there's been a second. Any further discussion?
Just to be clear, the motion to approve is to make it a delegation bill.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed, please signify by saying oppose.
Opposed.
Okay.
Opposed, and if I made, Mr. Chair, just a brief comment on my vote. My no recognizes actually the unique need of hunters in this situation. I've made what I find to be very small request, which is to hear from DNR before we made this vote. And so to stay consistent with my request, that's the reason I'm voting no.
Okay. Well, I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you for that. Okay. Well, thank you for that exercise. We will move on to the next bill. And also for that, we're going to record Rose and Reedy absent just for the purposes of the vote on that. All right. For the last,
Delegate Rose is here.
Delegate 50, I'm here and
Okay.
I was muted, so I'm a no. I was a no on the delay of the bill.
okay. All right. We got you.
And we just voted for the bill as a delegation bill, Delegate Rose.
And I'm a yes for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. All right. The last bill is something that Delegate Kerr's brought forward. Delegate Kerr, do you want to introduce this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This allows Frederick City to enter into a mutual emergency aid compact with other counties who have already entered into the compact. I believe Gan Sampson from the mayor's office is here, and I submitted this bill at his request, and I would invite him to provide some further detail.
All right.
Chairman Pippi, members of the delegation, thank you so much. Guy and Sampson, I'm the Chief of Staff to the Mayor of the City of Frederick. I have with me Nathan Hupp, our emergency manager, who's going to walk through this piece of legislation and why we requested it. Nathan?
Thank you. As you said, Nathan Hupp, emergency manager for the City of Frederick. So restating the main purpose of this compact is to provide emergency management mutual assistance between the jurisdictions entering into the compact. Currently, jurisdictions means the 23 counties within Maryland, Baltimore City, the City of Annapolis, the City of Bowie, the City of Laurel, and Ocean City. So at the micro level, this bill only amends the definition of jurisdiction to include the City of Frederick. So some of the considerations for jurisdictions to participate in the compact should include the size of the jurisdiction, as well as the types and severities of hazards that jurisdiction is vulnerable to. I think the city meets or exceeds these expectations. As the second largest city in Maryland with over 82,000 residents, which is larger than all of the other cities currently participating in the compact, excluding Baltimore City. It's also not about just about what the city can receive in mutual aid, as well as what we would be able to provide other participating jurisdictions. The city now has a full-time emergency manager and an established Office of Emergency Management. So basically, what would this bill do for the city? It would streamlines our resource requests during a time of emergency for quicker response and stabilize incidents. We can make, by making direct requests to other authorized representatives in the compact with coordination by MDEM. So during an emergency incident, the city needs to ensure that we have critical resources that can be obtained when needed. Allowing the city to become a member of this compact would significantly increase that capability. What it would not change is the bill does not change the acceptance or issuance of FEMA grant funds, such as the BRIC grant or any flood or hazard mitigation grant funding from going to the current recipients. And then the city would still first request resources and mutual aid assistance from Frederick County before initiating a MEMAC request. Thank you.
Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And thank you to Delegate Kerr. I know we talked about this on the floor. This entire bill is wrapped up on page 2, line 6. My question, Nathan, is the current draft that we're looking at that was included with the agenda deletes the city of Bowie from this compact and then adds the city of Frederick. Is that the intention of the draft?
No, that might be might need to be edited.
Okay, yeah, we have one of our colleagues is the former mayor pro tem of the city of Bowie. I would imagine he would not be thrilled to see that. So we could get that amended. That would be great.
Yeah, Ken, was this a suicide mission? What's the
I brought this Delegate Fair, I thank you for bringing this to my attention. I did bring the bill to the amendment office and pointed that out to them. And the bill that they returned to me as amended, I was assured corrected that problem. If it didn't, I'm sure that the Committee of Jurisdiction can make that right.
Okay, so we're not getting rid of the city of Bowie.
I hope not.
Okay. Okay. Well, obviously, some of you know that the city of Frederick, I think, is bigger than some of the counties around the state. So that's probably part of that deal. Dwayne, do you have a comment on that?
Yes. So just to be clear, LR 3100 is the same as HB 1110? Is that the... If so, then the city of Bowie isn't mentioned in the House bill at all. It's not being repealed.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to verify, so give me a second.
Is it on there now?
Yeah, it's not. So on the actual House bill that's been dropped, the city of Bowie isn't being repealed.
All right, let's pull that up just for make sure we have our ducks lined up before I have to go explain that to a lot of folks. Andrew will pull it up and then we should be good. All right, any other questions or concerns about the bill? Why Andrew's pulling that up? City of Frederick.
Just Frederick.
Yeah,
City
go to
of Frederick.
go to page 2. I think it's at the top.
It's line 22 and 23 on page 1.
There we go. All right. Keeps Bowie in there. Okay, and our office just preemptively reached out to the county executive as well to see if they had any concerns with the bill, and they did not. So if we're good to go, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion on this.
Move approval.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Delegate Kerr, second by, I think, Miller.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, good job.
Thank
Hearing
you.
none. So we're on the final part of our meeting. Are there any public comments from any of the stakeholders on the call?
Good morning, delegation. Mr. Kaplowitz.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Kaplowitz.
Yes, thank you all for your very hard work. We do appreciate it. I was in Annapolis, got a chance to see some of you as part of the Maryland Association of Community Colleges. I hope that the bills coming up to support our community colleges will receive the full support of our delegation. I would note that as we took, and we appreciate Delegate Kurz and Miller taking some of our student leaders into the state capitals. For many of them, their first visit, we did encounter the governor on our way out. He donned an FCC scarf and shook hands with each of the kids, and there is some pictures of our delegation of student leaders meeting with the governor, and they were still talking about it the next day. They were thrilled. So that was very nice. I want to ask the delegation consider support for a bill that I have personally worked and lobbied for, and that Delegate Fair has introduced. It's HB 951. Back in 2022, I asked if the Frederick County schools would promote the fact that 16 and 17-year-olds are eligible to vote. Only 45% of our youth, 16 and 17 now, especially those who are in Alice households, are not registering to vote when they get their driver's license because they're not getting a driver's license. And I asked that the school put on their homepage for every high school a notification that you could register beginning at age 16 and a link to the nonpartisan Board of Elections. And the acting superintendent at the time, Dr. Marco, told me he wouldn't do it because some might consider it political, even though the Frederick County Public Schools goals statement says that they want to create engaged citizens. And I can't think of any more engagement than voter registration. I registered 41 new voters this week alone. So I am very hopeful that the bill that will require that every high school in the state promote voter registration to 16 and 17-year-olds, let them verify that their age is the proper age, and then permit them to go to the State Board of Elections and register. I would note that even if a 16-year-old cannot vote, at the age of 16, once you are a registered voter, you can become an election judge. Many of our election judges are seniors, such as myself, who do not come back as judges because of the climate in the country and because of COVID fears. And we need more election judges. Every county, including Frederick, is short election judges. So this will let 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds become election judges, and someone who is 17 now and will be 18 on or before the general election in November is eligible to vote in the primary. The earlier you start someone voting, the more likely they are to pick up a lifetime habit. It is a civic bill, and I hope that Bill HB 951 will receive the full support of our delegation. I would also note that Monday night is Sierra Club night. Some of us will be online with our representatives. There will be others that will be there in person in Annapolis. You will receive information from the Sierra Club on our 3 priority bills, and I hope that you will support those 3 priority bills. I'll be in Annapolis tomorrow for the Progressive Maryland Power Summit, and I should see many of you on February 19th when ACLU and the Jews United for Justice lobby night comes up, and we'll be walking around and talking to many of you. Appreciate all the hard work that you all are doing. I've enjoyed my time in Annapolis, and I expect to see you all again soon. But please consider, as a delegation, full support signing on as co-sponsor to Delegate Fair's HB 951. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Delegate, I'm sorry, Mr. Ludwig, go ahead, sir.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to thank the delegation for increasing the strength of the language to support the Liberty Town sidewalks. And I have a question. Is there anything additional that the delegation or individuals in the delegation can do to help us to secure the further funding from SHA for these Liberty Town sidewalks?
I mean, you know, we have the letter is kind of our priority list. Obviously, there can probably be some discussions with our state highway representative and just kind of getting an understanding of what's occurring behind the scenes. But the letter is what our priorities are. And I think we kind of notched you up a bit there, and we strengthened the language. So I think that says a lot. But if there's anything else that comes up, we're happy to talk with you offline about it.
Okay, thank you. When we are having a meeting this week with SHA, and we're going to be talking about breaking down the sidewalk project into smaller pieces and prioritizing them to help facilitate securing funding.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your advocacy there, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments from any of the folks on the call? Any comments, parting comments from the delegation before we adjourn? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn from someone.
Move to adjourn.
All right, Delegate Miller, and there's second, Senator Folden. Everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see some of you on the